global population rapidly increasing, the food industry is constantly creating new foods. It is vital for us to know what effects these new products will have on human health and what can be done to improve them. In order to achieve that, we have to conduct research, which requires funding, a lot of it. We have to pay salaries to scientists, we have to pay for experiments and laboratory equipment. However, the sources of funding for nutrition research are limited. In addition, one of the most active resources, food companies, is facing the possibility of being restricted from funding nutritional research. Such restrictions arise from the fact that sometimes food companies try to manipulate research results in their favor. Mario Nesta, a New York University professor, found that of 168 industry-funded studies that she has looked at, more than 90% favor the funder. 2007 review of 206 studies that looked at the health benefits of milk, soda, and fruit juices found that those sponsored entirely by food or beverage company were 4 to 8 times more likely to show positive health effects from consuming those products. Although it may seem that researchers must be fabricating data or making unscientific conclusions while taking money from the corporations, most of the time that's not the case. Mario Nesta can explain you how this actually works.
It's not the quality of the science that's at issue. The studies are carried out according to strong scientific principles, but the bias seems to come in around the research question that's asked, the interpretation of the results, putting a positive spin on findings even when the results are neutral.
We all agree that food industry sponsorship can have adverse effects on scientific research in the current state of legislation. However, with stricter regulations and greater oversight, funding from food companies can be used for the benefit of all consumers. Ultimately, the debate comes down to whether additional funding for nutritional research is good or bad, and the answer is obvious. Money doesn't have any inherently bad nature. So, for example, let's take a look at this guy. He's just standing here on his new phone. It's making his life a lot better, clearly. He's a lot more productive using that iPhone. But also, an iPhone is kind of fragile. Look, he's dropped his phone, and now he's gotta buy a new one because it's broken.
Yo, this phone is so cool. I can do stuff so much faster now.
So you see, he bought a new phone, and he's happy now, and his life is a lot better still, but he's still clumsy. Yep, and he gotta buy a new phone again. So what is the solution? Should this guy never spend money on an iPhone again? Should he just buy a Nokia and kind of use it to call his grandma once in a while? No, that's stupid. He should just get a case and enjoy an iPhone and have all the same useful tools in there like other people. Similarly, you shouldn't ban industrial funding of research just because it can have negative outcomes. Extra money for science is never a bad thing. We just need to make sure that proper science is still being performed and food companies can't affect the publications. Furthermore, we can't discredit all of the nutritional research funded by food industry. Every so often results aren't in the funder's interest. As reported by Nestle, the National Honey Board funded a study in collaboration with the US Department of Agriculture to test whether honey had less of an effect on blood sugar levels than white cane sugar or high fructose corn syrup. But study participants showed similar blood sugar levels after consuming each of the 3 sweeteners, leading the authors to conclude that eating less sugar was preferable to trying to find a sugar that is more neutral in terms of its health effects. Well, let's find out what the Dutch nutritioner Martin Catan has to say. Come with me.
My personal experience makes me reluctant to support a blanket condemnation of industry-supported research because collaboration with industry has allowed me to discover things that I could not have found otherwise. We discovered the effects of trans fatty acids on heart disease risk thanks to the expertise of Unilever, and the cholesterol-raising factor in unfiltered coffee thanks to Nestle.
Thank you, Professor. Solving the problem of bias when it comes to industry-funded research simply requires a safeguard to be placed over it. Clinical trial registries, which require companies to publicly disclose all the doctors they gave money to and in what amount, act as a model to be followed within the food industry. It would create a transparency between researchers and consumers. Given all that, we hope that in the future, industry-funded research can be regulated more carefully, ultimately allowing for a steady contribution of funds still necessary for success in nutrition research.